Well, nationalizing the banks is a last resort, the last word we just got from a top U.S. regulator. Does that have Democratic strategist David Sirota worried? Yes, because David says what would be wrong with nationalizing them. David, explain.
Well, we've already basically nationalized in terms of ownership. I mean, we own a huge stake in Bank of America. We own now, what, 80% of AIG. The issue is that we haven't gone the full step to clean out management and to do a better job of protecting taxpayers. I mean, as just one example, the Associated Press reports that the government has negotiated a 10% dividend from AIG, but it's up to AIG's board on whether that's actually going to be paid to the government. That's unacceptable. That's basically taxpayers throwing money at a zombie corporation and not having the benefits of any kind of ownership.
So why not let the zombie corporation go under? There are bankruptcy procedures. There is FDIC receivership, that sort of thing. Why nationalize when you have all these other options?
Well, I think FDI receivership is basically like nationalization. I mean, the word nationalization, you can call it receivership, you can call it restructuring. You know, the bottom line here, though, is that we shouldn't be shoveling taxpayer money to essentially a company that still is private, that whose management is still there, that's still paying out money to shareholders, and that has the discretion on whether to pay dividends or not. That if we're going to own the company, then we should get the full benefits of ownership, not just the drawbacks.
I can see your point, David. You can't be a little bit pregnant with this thing. You might as well go full Monty with this thing. But having said that, though, I mean, I'm wondering whether what we're seeing here is a repudiation of government involvement, light, medium, or heavy here. That this is the market's way of saying, stay away, period.
I don't see that at all. I think what the market is saying, and it says a lot of things at once, as you know, but I think what the market is saying is that we don't like that the government is throwing money at something and it's not fixing the problem. The issue here is that the government needs to take ownership of corporations that it already effectively has ownership over. If
why
not,
don't you just cut
we're
bait
going to lose out.
No, I see your point, David. Why don't you just cut bait and say the hell with it? It's not working. Why pour good money after bad, even quasi-nationalizing, which some are looking as a temporary alternative, or outright full nationalization? Why do any of the above? Why not just roll the dice and let them rip? And if they go under, I mean, I know the argument against it is that there'd be hell to pay, but looking around, there's been a lot of hell to pay already.
Well, look, there's the issue of too big to fail. I mean, my take is that anything that's too big to fail needs to be under some kind of public control.
Yeah, but now we have too many to fit that definition, right? Where do you stop? Where do you draw the line? Everyone's second-guessing, oh, we should have done with this with Lehman. Had we done that, we wouldn't be in this position. But on we go.
Neil, I don't disagree that we need to look at which companies we should let go and which companies we should put into federal receivership. But I think the operative question here is, what really is too big to fail? Which institutions really are too big to fail? And if they are too big to fail, then let's preemptively get them under some kind of public control to stop the bleeding and stop the risk to the broader economy. So in your eyes, it wouldn't be temporary? I mean, this idea that was advanced by no less than Alan Greenspan that you might have a temporary takeover, you don't think it should be that? It should be just the full 9 yards done? Well, I think on a case-by-case basis it should be temporary. However, in the specific case...
Has the government ever temporarily done things? I know the Resolution Trust Corporation is a different kind of a beast with the S&Ls, but most times the government gets involved. It's kind of like the unwanted guest who doesn't leave.
Well, I mean, you have the Swedish model, where they did take ownership and then sell it back off. I think maybe that could work. Just because it hasn't been done in this country before doesn't mean it shouldn't be done again. I think in the specific case of AIG, it is so intertwined in so many parts of our economy. Anything, again, that is that big, that is that much of a threat, that is that intertwined into the economy, needs to have public control.
Why? Wouldn't someone else be
stake.
interested in picking up those attractive AIG assets, even at a discount? It's not as if they'd go away.
Well, yes, except the issue is that if it's such a threat to our society if things go wrong, then the government needs to essentially, again, have public control so that it's not such a public threat. Yeah, but David, have you seen what public intervention has done already to the tune of 120, 130 billion for AIG, 100 billion between Citigroup and Bank of America? We're in a bigger fix than we were before we started. But again, that's not nationalization. What we have done is simply thrown money at the same management, the same executives who created this problem.
But isn't the fear, David, that the reason why these companies are getting shell-shocked here is the notion that if we're going to move that route, then everyone who owns stock in these companies is vulnerable.
Well, but that was the risk they took. I mean, these people made a bet. The shareholders made a bet on these companies, and they lost. It shouldn't be up to taxpayers to pay off their losses.
One of the bets wasn't that the government would just take over the whole damn industry.
Well, Neil, these companies are basically valueless. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to admit that. They basically have no value. What we're doing as taxpayers right now, we're being forced to subsidize these corporations so that their shareholders don't have to take the loss that they should have to take.
Or we'll subsidize them even more under your plan, wouldn't we?
Well, we would take ownership. That's the thing. We would have at least the benefits of ownership. Right now, we only have the negatives of ownership, not the benefits.
David, thank you. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Neil.